NFR.
NFR Extra is a podcast dedicated to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and features icons and personalities that embody the Western lifestyle.
I've got to the point now where I trust what I can do here and what I can't, and I just stick with it. And I didn't care what anyone said, did. I had a lot of confidence in doing what I could do, and I just focused on that. I figured Wesley could take care of the rest.
I like to be aggressive, but there are times where you need to have just enough to control to be able to say, hey, if I get around them, let it shape up before I take that shot. Don't anticipate it, and it's going to be good enough. You know, it might be third or fourth, or it might be fifth, or it might hold your spot in the average, but better than taking a risky throw trying to pull off a cocky shot to win first, you know.
I know he's a healer, and they always said that the hitter's the quarterback, but in our situation, I kind of feel like Wesley's the quarterback, and I'm the towel boy. You need the towel boy. You know what I mean? like,
Hey, everybody, this is Steve Godert, and you're listening to the NFR Extra.
So it seems like we're on a trend here in the team roping because we had a few years where everything was split up and partners weren't winning together, but I think this is the third year in a row where two people roping together have won the world title. So we're joined by Tyler Wade and Wesley Thorp. Welcome to the NFR Extra, guys.
yeah,
Hey,
thanks for having us.
I thought usually every year people together, roping together, won the world championship in the team roping.
No, it's been split up multiple times.
It's like a...
There's so many partner changes throughout the year that it makes the money uneven. So when you get to the final, you know, there's such a difference at the finals that when that money's already uneven, it definitely happens.
See, Steve?
I was bringing it down on a dummy level. Where
Okay. Well, we're trying to educate the audience, right?
I caught you.
Thank you. We're on the same level, brother.
Oh, so Tyler, let's start with you. I mean, the journey is a little different for you this time around because this is your first world title. So I like to go back to that actual moment, you know, and when you guys are getting ready for round number 10, what's your game plan going into roping that steer?
I'm a trial and error guy, and I have messed up plenty here, whether I was just trying to just catch or go too fast or whatever. So, like, I've got to the point now where I trust what I can do here and what I can't, and I just stick with it. And I didn't care what anyone said, did. I had a lot of confidence in doing what I could do, and I just focused on that. I figured Wesley could take care of the rest.
Did you guys have like a time frame in mind whenever you're trying to make that run, or what did you have to do in round 10?
My boy here, he knew everything. He knew what we had to be.
Realistically, we had to be 5-5 or better to guarantee it after we watched the team in front of us go. We had to hold our spot in the average.
Okay.
So when Buddy and Andrew went 4 flat, if they would have won, which they didn't hold that spot in the round, I'm just saying as of when they went, as high as they were placed in the round, we had to hold our spot in the average. After they got bumped down, we could afford like 1 spot down in the average until another team bumped them down. Then we could have had like maybe 1 or 2 spots down in the average. Either way, worst case scenario, we knew we had a second half lead on them. We had to stay within that range. Worst case scenario until it, you know, like I said, when teams went after them, it rolled down just a little bit. But 5-5 was a guarantee.
Does that almost make you a little nervous to have to safety up like that? Because when we talked to Wags about it, Wags was like, I just want to win the round. Like, don't tell me that I have to throw the steer. Like, I want a little extra juice.
It's not easy in this arena. It is not easy to. It's really not easy to speed up the run, and it's not easy to slow the run down very much. I mean, we do practice different scenarios and have enough control to where we do take control of those situations. But like I said, I mean, if you're trying to be faster than what's comfortable, it gets hard. And when you're trying to be slower than what's comfortable, it gets hard. So you dang sure don't want to overthink it too much because it can create a whole new set of problems.
This is like a true partnership. I'm more like T-Wade on this deal. Like, I know what I can do and what I can't do, and I just stay within that. And then Wesley's like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
These are our options, and this is where it's got to go.
So I'm Wesley here? Is that what you're saying?
I would say we're kind of
I didn't even want to know. I didn't care if we had to be 50 or 5. I was just going to try to do what I could do.
That's Steve.
Yeah.
And I was more concerned about being worried about everybody else. Like, oh, he did this. Oh, he did that. Instead of, I didn't want to get caught up in that and not truly focusing on my job, which he can multitask better than me. But I was just like, that's all I got. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. I don't know. I feel like that was my best option.
Sure.
Yeah. That deal too is, it's so funny. Like everybody that we've talked to, well, pretty much everybody is concerned about the comments and what other people think. And the realistic part of that is whoever says anything, obviously, if they were in that spot, I mean, if the guys that won the world are looking back at, if you didn't win the world, whatever, like, hey, you need to do this or whatever. It's like, oh, thanks. I'll try that next time. But like, if you're concerned about what some couch potato is saying, what good does that do? Like, oh, you guys should have done this or that. It's like nobody knows what you need to do or what that steer is or what you saw in that fraction of a second that made you, check up or throw sooner or hold up or whatever. And like just going after it. But I mean, knowing where you're at is also a positive thing. Like, man, I need to come in and just make a good businessman sort of catch. Like, let's just make it happen. But gosh dang, the comment thing is just, I mean, who cares what anybody says? I mean, nobody, it's inconsequential to what, which is easier for me to say. I'm doing the reverse comment deal on this. Like, don't worry about what everybody says.
Well, yeah, I think people don't give credit to like football players when they holler "hut." It's just a reaction to what you practice,
right?
And then we can all look at it and go, and especially like even like let's say crossfire, they're like, oh man, that wasn't a crossfire, it was, and everybody sticks with it, and then they slow-mo it, and they're like, oh, that really wasn't a crossfire. Like, we don't get time to slow-mo it.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, it's just a reaction of what you practiced, and we truly just hope for the best.
What you see in that fraction of a second.
But I can see, too, with your dynamic, your differing personalities probably makes you guys stronger because at times you need someone who's a little analytical that goes, hey, this is the type of run we need to make. I mean, it's been a while since I've roped with my dad, but I would study the cattle and kind of look at them and go, hey, this is what we need to be. This is the type of run we can make. And obviously, I think that helps, correct?
Yeah, I think as long as you can, you don't overthink it too much. But, like, we'll even play the rodeo out if it's a tournament style. Be like, hey, these first 2 rounds paid more or almost as much as the average or semifinals pays. Let's go at them here and then get through the semi, whatever, like, we talk about that type of stuff, how we want to play it out. But like what he's saying is he just didn't want to like overthink that 10th round run of like, hey, I'm just going to go catch. Well, our steer is supposed to be strong and come left. So like if he misses the barrier and takes, an extra swing or two, he's stuck in the wall. I might have to circle him all the way around to be 10, or he's going to set me up for one shot. So it just depends on where you put that risk reward in your run. But yeah, I like to think about it. I don't like to overthink it either because there isn't very many times where it's just flat out easy. So I mean, I like to be aggressive, but there are times where you need to have just enough to control to be able to say, hey, if I get around them, let it shape up before I take that shot. Don't anticipate it, and it's going to be good enough. It might be 3rd or 4th, or it might be 5th, or it might hold your spot in the average, but better than taking a risky throw trying to pull off a cocky shot to win first,
So the biggest difference between you two and this world title is this is obviously your second. So what was the biggest difference for you in between those 2 gold buckles?
Well, for me, the first one I went in 9th in the world standings. So I was roping pretty well, but I didn't feel like I was a top contender per se at the time. I mean, I was having success jackpot and rodeoing, but it just didn't feel like, I'm not saying I wasn't deserving of it. I just didn't feel like expected of it. And had a good finals, roped well, and moved up to win the world. My partner was a reserve world champion, but we didn't get to win it together, share the title together. But in that few year span, I felt like I wanted to progress. Like even after that, I didn't feel like I was at that spot to deserve it. So I still wanted to progress in my roping, get better, dig down and get closer to where I wanted to be. And my goal has always been to be the best healer in the world. I didn't necessarily want to, set out to win gold buckles or anything. I figured that would take care of itself if it aligned. But I still felt like I had more to prove to myself. And over those next few years, had decent years, made the finals, all, each year in between. But either wouldn't have a good finals or didn't start out as high coming in the finals, or, above average finals, but not good enough. Just didn't have that click, And then last year we had a decent year, and then me and Tyler started roping, and then got on a roll in the summer, worked our way up, and we actually finished the regular season number 2 and 1. So we came up at the top of the food chain, and for me, it was cool to come in number 1 and stay number 1, because I felt like, man, I got to complete the whole regular season on top, and there isn't that much of a difference here at the coming in the finals. One go round, they could catch you. So to be able to come in 1 and stay 1, like that was very rewarding for me and what I've tried to get to. And it's actually, I've always really looked up to the guys that won the season leaders.
Yeah. Everybody rodeoing too, they respect the guy that comes in number 1 because they know how hard it is to get there.
To be there.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel like that's an underrated award. Like, and Walt Woodard and I were talking about it at the end of the year, and the year wasn't even over. I just had a chance. I was like number 2 and had a chance to get there. And he said, that's probably the most underrated award that there is. He said, I have so much pride in me. He won it one time long. He said, I have a lot of pride in that buckle. And it makes sense, because like I've always thought of it that way. The guys that came in number 1, there's one healer in particular. He came in number 1 several times, never won a world title, but I always had a ton of respect, because to come in number 1 for the whole season long, I think is a very cool.
That's harder to do than have 10 good days in Vegas.
Right.
For hands down.
100%.
Where you get $20,000 on one good round. I mean, that could be 2 months of rodeoing, to where that deal. And like you said, you have guys that come in and they're in that number 1 spot. It's like, oh man, he's on a runaway.
Yeah.
And they get here and they have 2 bad rounds or whatever in any one of the events. And you watch them go from, 2 to 4 to end up 6th in the world or something. But to maintain that, amongst the best, like, yeah, we had an outstanding year. We're number 1 coming in this thing, and then we laid the hammer down and got the job done.
Well, you're liable to come in with a $150,000 lead, win 100 at the finals, and still
Not win the world title.
Or barely win it. Yeah, if nothing else. So, I mean,
and that's nothing to shake your. I mean,
that's an amazing accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
But still, sometimes it's not enough, and
Right.
that's how hard.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's how hard it is to stay ahead when you get here.
Yeah.
Not many times the gold buckles won before the 10th round in any event. There's not very many times.
With the average.
And that doesn't mean
throw
that
that in
they've
there.
got it in their pocket. All they have to do is, ride for 8 seconds or tie the calf down or head and heel the steer. But there's not many times you could fall off your horse in the 10th round and win the world.
You got more pressure on that. I mean, like, you have to keep the 10th round in mind, right? Obviously. But is there more pressure on just the 10th round, or is it like, holy crap, every round, if I stub my toe on the 2nd or the 5th or whatever, it's like every round has got its own pressure, right?
Yeah, every night's a brand new night. But in the same token, our first 5 rounds, really first 7 rounds weren't just going our way really well. I mean, we didn't have it, we weren't super happy about where we were in round 7, I would say, but you're always one good steer from turning it around, one good night from turning it around. So it fluctuates so much that we don't put that much pressure on ourselves on one night, because we know it's a marathon. It's not, it's day by day, get through each one for what they are, and then you're going to get a chance later.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because if you go through round 5, even though you guys were in a really good spot, everybody was talking about Clint and Jake. They had,
won 3 rounds.
Exactly.
5, and they're
It boosts their way back up.
And,
So
they're like, we're
They
headed
barely
down,
at
and they're
one
headed
point.
up.
At one point, he barely made the finals. Like you said, there's so much to win out here. He was winning the world after round 3 or 4,
and had the momentum. That's what people don't understand too. They're they're winning. They're climbing. You're having bad luck where it's not going your way. They've got the momentum headed their way on a roll. Looks like they've just tapped off. That plays a factor right there. I mean, it's like, how do you lose track? Quit worrying about them. Worry about your own deal. Get by. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
It's a marathon. Let them stump their toe. Don't worry about you. Like, you stay your course. And I think that's the hardest thing to do in rodeo in general. Somebody goes right in front of you at, 3-8 at a tough setup in the summer. How do you back in there and tell yourself, I'm doing my job, not what they just tried to do? Because you might be faster doing your job, but if you ever try to play somebody else's game in this sport, you get left behind.
Well, and no offense to either one of you, but
That's an offensive way to start something.
No,
I'm offended.
Clint picking up transmission. That was a heck of a horse to have in this setup. You know, I mean, with that being an older, experienced horse, I mean, it's kind of one of those things when you're playing a game of chess, you're like, that was a really good move.
And when he stood out in that setup, I mean, we all know how good that horse is. You never know how good a horse is going to fit someone. You know, great horses and great ropers sometimes don't. I mean, just in the right fit.
Yep.
But that was just a heck of a fit and great for. I mean, the steers. That horse is big and strong and pulls them and finishes so good that sets them up good. So yeah, it was a unbelievable fit.
But come to the end of it, I mean, I don't know. Take us through making the run and physically getting the job done in round 10.
Man, I don't even know where to start. But it was like the pressure was a little more off than at the beginning of the week. For me, right off the bat, I felt more pressure at the front. I've come in here and roped first before because I was 15th and barely made it. And you're like, all right, now I start the team roping, trying to prove myself.
Right.
Am I good enough right here? And then a miss. Like the first 3 I missed. So like I had this similar feeling being last out. Like now I'm supposed to be one of the top guys here. And in my opinion, Driggers and Junior are impossible to beat. 2 world titles in a row. Like they're a great team. And they go the team before us every night. So Wesley, he's good mentally. He stays the course and he knows what he can do and he's good at it. But from where I was like, man, this is a freaking good team right here. You know what I mean? I gotta watch them go every night and then follow suit. Like that was hard to overcome a little bit. In the first night, they go 4 in place, and I tried to just do my job. I missed the barrier and was like 6-2, and so like the next night we come back and I think they went 4 and placed again, and I broke the barrier, and I'm like, all right, just keep doing my deal. And third round, I think they caught or maybe didn't catch. I don't really remember. I was trying not to focus on them, but just at the same time, you know, you were right after them every single night. And it was just, we were 1 and 2 at the time, at the beginning. And third night, we had one of the worst years, one was 4 flat. And I'm like, all right, now we know what we can do, stick the course. And then to me, we just kept, I got the confidence to almost tame that dragon in my head. You know what I mean? To just get done at all costs, do what you can do, and don't worry about everybody else. And I just stuck with it. And I've stuck with it ever since now. And I feel a lot more confident in doing it that way.
Is there, I mean, you never want to make a mistake, but I would think the earlier you can make it, the better, correct? I mean, you don't, or does it even matter?
You know, I think to me, you know, there's nothing wrong with mistakes, but when you get outside of your game plan making mistakes, that's what bothers me. So, like, I can miss, like, I messed up 3 times in a row, 5th, 6th, and 7th round, and it hurt. Like, don't get me wrong, I was upset and definitely, you know, hit hard, but no, there wasn't one time where I took a throw that I was upset about. There was one time where, you know, looking back, hindsight, I could have took one more swing, made sure I caught him. But then the way the round played out, I didn't need to take one more swing, you know, if we're still being aggressive. So I think anytime you get outside of that game plan and start making mistakes and then, you know, obviously you couldn't see it consciously enough and then you didn't reflect on what happened. And that's where you spin your wheels. And I think you get going backwards. But when you take the approach you're supposed to and are disciplined enough about it, and that's where I can live with on the mistakes.
When me and Tyler were waiting for you 2 guys to get here, we were kind of talking about how you came together as a team, and he said that you know jackpotted for quite a few years together. So is that something to where kind of this obviously works? You know what I mean? Like with both of your styles, with how everything is working on the team roping side. But do you feel that was very advantageous to you know, where you guys are at right now, is having that previous experience?
I do personally, because from the outside looking in, you know, if you're just watching Tyler rope from afar, like he reaches a lot and he gets it on him fast. And, you know, the stereotypical healer might think, I need to make sure I'm up around there. I'm getting there. You know, make sure I'm there. And I'd roped with him so much, I learned that, like, hey, he's going to get it on him fast, but he's not going to leave me. Like, he's not going to run off with them. He's not, he's holding his horses up, and every one of his horses are very responsive, and like none of them duck, none of them, are very strong to where they pull them away from you. And if you're just patient and keep going all the way around them, you can ride up as aggressive in the corner as you want, but just don't cover them up, and you'll get a fast throw. And I learned that, especially, over the last several years jackpotting with him, that just wasn't something, when we first started rodeo, and I told myself, like, hey, it doesn't matter how fast he gets it on him. Just be patient, ride around there. And if it's not right, take another swing, but be ready. Don't be afraid to take that first throw, because it's not intimidating. Just because he has it on him doesn't mean they're not going to square up fast. So be ready for it. And I think that's probably what played the biggest part of knowing our styles could fit, and our jackpot run, our rodeo run isn't that much difference. We're talking about the more aggressive jackpots that are entered multiple times, and our rodeo run, it's not that much different.
I think that's super smart too, because we were watching some videos from the Team Roping Journal, and I'm not going to name the people because I kind of think the header ran off with the steer, but the heeler made a heck of a shot, and you can live and die by that sword. And more often than not, you're going to die, because at the end of the day, it's team roping. And if you're not setting your partner up to be successful, I think that's really smart that you guys have kind of figured that out.
Yeah, like how fast can we go and do it consistently? And it kind of goes with like, I can't go fast on my own, so I'm going to have to slow down so he can go fast too. So like, and he knows too, for the most part, like I want the steer dead straight. So like to do that, you got to hang back a little bit and then trust me to wait on you. But if he's pushing them left to set himself up better, he's setting me up worse. So like we have to feed off each other on every little detail like that. And what's cool about us is we haven't really had to change anything. We've just kind of worked it together, and it works together pretty good. And it seems to go inside and out of the arena. Like we're on the same page with damn near everything. It's like, don't think if we're fourth callback and fourth pays 15,000, man, we'll just high five and stick with fourth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or like, it doesn't matter. If we're high callback and we have to be 6 to win it and 12 to win second, we'll go be 10 too. Like we're not too prideful to get the same. We're on the same page with making a living with our rope. We're not chasing trinkets out here, and we're just truly on the same page with literally everything.
That longevity side of it.
Well, and it's a business, right? At the end of the day, you're trying to get paid, and if it's not a 6-second setup, if the steers are strong and all you can be is 8, then go be 8 and get paid, because there's no guaranteed paycheck. So that's super smart. And that takes maturity too, right? To realize the game that you're playing.
It takes time. It definitely takes time to be able to have that approach, because that wasn't, the first year I rodeoed, I really only had just about one approach, and that's about the only approach my horse would let me have, So like there was a lot of things, that learning curves you realize, but if it is something you want to do for a long time, you have to look at what's the most sustainable and what you feel like when you do win that roping, or when that, hey, could I do that again? And so I always wanted to say that was something that I feel like I could do again,
What is there a run that you guys have had together that is just kind of wild, that was completely shot out the cannon, where it's like, holy cow, that one?
There's a lot of those too.
There's one that stands out, and it was probably Caldwell, Idaho, first round. It was pretty, and it really wasn't that chaotic, I wouldn't say, but it was like, if you watched it from afar, which we had a lot of momentum going our way, mind you, like it had been really good.
We were just thrown up there, and it was working for a while.
Yeah, we could have closed our eyes and it went on. Both feet, horns, neck, half head, figure 8 the legs, whatever. But first round at Caldwell, like that to me, just because I do head a lot, so like I have a perspective of a header and like an understanding like how hard it is. And that setup seems hard because it's a real dead box. You got to see them out. You got to get a lot of momentum. The steers are not slow. Even the slowest steer in there is good, but nothing just lopes. It's not like,
they're on like team 50 and like 5.5s winning the round.
Yeah, like as me thinking from a header, I'm like, you let the steer out halfway, and on the very slowest steer, like you need to reach a little to be 4. Like the very best steer, like you're going to have to make a good run. And anyway, Tyler nails the barrier and throws 3, 4, 5 coils, whatever it was. I couldn't even see the rope just came by my head. goes on, and the steer like it's around and he stands up, and I throw like borderline crossfire, and we finish, and we're like 4-6,
4 flat.
4 flat, yeah, 4 flat,
Yeah.
whatever. It was fast, and it
He
won
just
the first.
wanted to hear you say that. Was it 4-6?
Yeah, was it a
flat?
four?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4
maybe?
flat. It was fast, and I was like, golly, like you wouldn't want to. I mean, to duplicate that.
Yeah.
Looking at when you watch the run, you're like, gosh, dang, like that. I don't know if I want to do that again. But it's like, anyway, it's just funny how you do have runs like that.
We the one, there's 2 of them that I thought was similar to that. Is we were like 10 flat in the first round in Dodge City, and we're like, well, let's just see if we can place in the round. Maybe we'll be like one of the last holes coming back. And same deal, just threw my whole rope, and he heeled him as fast as he could. I think we were 4 flat or 4-2 then, and we won the round.
And Dodge City, that's the same type of deal.
Yeah.
That's a tough. That's a 6-second setup.
Yep.
Truly,
18 on 3 will win first,
if
second,
that was
third.
an open rope and 5 head, that's a 6-5 to 7 flat second setup. Maybe 5s on the good ones. I mean, that's not a 4-second setup.
Yeah, and we come back and made the short round, and we won the short round and ended up winning like 4th in the average. We won like 10 grand. Well, the guy that won it only won 4,500, but we won more than them with a penalty right off the start.
And it seems like there's some of those rodeos in that part of the schedule, though, that they're, I don't want to say a lot alike, but you'll see that. Like you'll see, I mean, if you go catch in the short round, you're going to get paid because, you know, the 11th and 12th guys, you know, I don't know. Again, I'm out of the game, so I'm just talking about it now.
You got to play it out. I mean, there is a lot of short goes where they more or less give money away. I mean,
they pay. You know, there's only 12 that make short round. They pay 8 monies. So I mean,
if you draw a good steer, use them, make advantage of it. But if you draw a bad steer, don't give up. You know, don't take a Hail Mary, get him down, and take your 6th, take your 7th. That easy $1,000 adds up. You know, the hard $1,000 that nobody cares about that, but because everybody's tossing them in the wind and low percentages, but that easy $1,000 that adds up.
Let's take a quick pause and we'll be right back. Looking to rope in some news and features you can't find anywhere else? Then look no further than the series of blogs at nfrexperience.com. You'll find customized content from experts in all things rodeo and Las Vegas. There's the NFR Insider, The Mental Game, and One-on-One with Susan Canode, Gold Buckle Buzz with Brian Hurlburt, NFR Experience with Patrick Everson, and the Junior World Finals with Jack Nowlin. There's something for all rodeo fans. Check it out at nfrexperience.com. The biggest stage, the brightest lights, the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo.
Would you say you rope a lot more half heads and necks than a lot of other guys? Is that accurate or
I
no?
hardly get the half head, but I get a lot of necks. To say the least, I get a lot of necks. I just think it's because I don't want to miss. And so, like, I just want to open loop that catches a cow.
It's legal.
If you got a good 10 healer, it don't matter. He don't care if it's around the horns. Nobody's ever been like, man, I want to rope with that guy. He throws pretty loops.
Right. No, I agree.
The guy that catches every time.
I agree.
So it's more, the more I can catch, the better. So.
In his defense, he's learned how to handle them around the neck. So. Hey, they say, repetition will get you.
Yeah.
Touche.
He's practiced it enough that he can handle them around the neck now.
I know he's a healer, and they always say that the header's the quarterback, but in our situation, I kind of feel like Wesley's the quarterback, and I'm the towel boy. You know,
the towel boy.
I was thinking like tight end or something.
No, I thought, like you need the towel boy. You know what I mean? Like
what are we doing here, boss? Getting kind of, I hate the word, but moist comes to mind.
Yeah, like nobody really, he's the star of the show, no doubt. But I mean, you got to have that towel boy there too to retrieve the towels and get the water.
Oh gosh, I've never heard that.
That was a humbling response.
Oh
gosh, holy cow!
The towel boy.
Yeah, I'm just out here just kind of making sure everybody's got.
Everybody's taken care of.
Yeah, what else do you need? You good? What do you need?
Oh,
Just turn it, baby.
So with horses and young families and everything else, how do you guys juggle the schedule that you have every summer?
Well, I know that both our families are going to come out after the 4th of July, and we're going to have them with us, and we might park them somewhere, grabbing a rig, and ease around, but we prefer that they're with us all the time. So we try to schedule to stay home the latest we can, and then get them out here as soon as we can. I would say.
Good for you.
Yeah, we definitely like throughout the year we don't go very many places without them unless it's a short trip. I mean, if it's short there and back, that's one thing. But in the summer, I mean, they go the whole time pretty much. So even last year,
yeah, and that's a dynamic because you're five and six, five and seven,
yeah,
5 and 6 coming on 7,
yeah,
and you got a baby, Tyler.
5 and 2 months.
5 and
Do
2
you
months.
change diapers?
Some diapers. Yeah.
There's a slight pause there.
Yeah.
I changed some.
So that's a young family though too, and I mean, if you guys are in for the haul, but the cool thing is too, just like horses, I mean, them kids got to be bar broke too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about bar broke, but
Yeah. Actually, Platinum made us. The dinette is a crib.
oh, that's cool.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
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 So we
But-
turned the dinette into a crib, but you can get it into a dinette if you want. But that's an ideal right
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
But point being with that is when you're going down the road, it's not like you're gonna drive 2 or 3 hours. I mean, them kids are they're planted in the seat for a hot minute, and but the same thing, man. I tell you what, like I'm the same way, and I know Andy's like that too. Is you spend enough time away from the family, and all you want to do is get back to the family.
Yeah.
But if you got your family with you and you're kind of set up and you're rolling, it's like, all right, we can do this. We're good.
yeah.
So that's
how we are. I tell people like I couldn't rodeo if I had to be gone for a month or 2 months.
Right.
Like I wouldn't do it anymore. Like I don't know, I've had to be gone for weeks at a time before, but I mean not in a long time. I probably hadn't had to be gone more than a week, 8, 9 at the most in a long time. But yeah, I don't think I could do it anymore without them. So when they're there, shoot, the way I look at it, it's hot in Texas in summer anyway, so I'd just soon be
them
gone and
that
have
cool
them,
country,
and they get to travel around, and we do plenty of fun things too. So I think it's a good experience for them, and they like going too. So
And performance-wise, the last thing you want to do is be going to rodeo wanting to leave.
right.
You know what I mean? So, like, you'll see guys
That's-
that rope amazing, and they're like, well, we're going to go for a couple months, see how it goes. Like, the guys that make it every year in and year out, they're in it for the long haul. They're
Right.
saddled up, ready to go, and expecting to perform well. You
Yeah.
know, with other guys, like, well, if we have a good month,
Yeah.
we'll stay entered. But
Scared money don't make money.
it's
That's
just
exactly
like and not saying they not rope amazing or anything like that, but it's like your heart's not truly in it
Yeah.
if you're still looking in a month if you're going to be here or not.
Right.
you can't have a plan
You know.
B when you start
Yeah.
in
'Cause-
January.
Because if we
Burn the
would
ships.
if we would have done the same thing this summer with me missing 12 in a row over the 4th of July and stuff, we would have went home, no doubt. Like too far down in the standings to worry about it. And then all of a sudden, there wasn't a way out. We just kept going.
Ebb and flows,
it just,
yeah.
and it just come right out to being 1 and 2 in the world at the end of it, which was amazing to see. I told Wesley that. I was like, looking back, like when the guy said, we'll see how it goes and go home, like, when the hell do you go home?
Right.
Because you always have
You
a
missed-
chance
you missed
until
2,
you don't.
missed 3,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
But like, you truly have a chance for a long time out
Yeah.
there. The rodeos pay so much money that Clint Summers was not a prayer in the world. Like, couldn't believe he was doing the stuff he was doing. Got his tour points at Abilene, got his tour points at Pendleton. Still a long shot from hell to make it. Sioux Falls pulls it off for him. We're in the top 4. I have to be second. Wesley he was already winning the world now at Sioux Falls. Last rodeo season. I don't remember. It was like 17,000 for second or to win it. I don't know what it was. I was 5,000 out of winning the world at the time.
Second or better.
Second or better,
out of
yeah.
4.
And we're first out and go 3-7. And I'm like, well, that's it right there. Second or better. I'm like, surely, there's only 3 teams left.
Second, I mean, 3. You could take the barrier down, flag on the healer, whatever you want to do. 4 teams going 3 set, or
Yeah.
3 teams
yeah.
going. It just
And then
doesn't matter.
Clint Summers comes back, and he's the next team. He's 3-6. I'm like, all right, I'm still good. Next team, Coleman Proctor's 3-4. And then the last
That
time
was one of the
messed up,
craziest
but it was
things.
like, holy hell! Like, I was glad for Clint. And I
Sure.
wasn't like I was wanting to go in number 1, him miss.
Right.
I mean, but it was crazy the way it worked out, and like you said, when do you give up? Because that guy come out of nowhere
Yeah.
and won freaking second in the world, almost won the whole thing. Like, you don't is
But-
the answer.
But see, to your point, and I think you're onto something. I've always had people back home that go, all right, throw the horses out, throw all the obvious stuff out. What separates the guys that are going each and every year that are 17th, but never make it. And I said, in my opinion, there's a junkyard dog mentality that the guys that continually make it each and every year, that like you say, it's the last rodeo. This is your last shot, and you have to be 3-6 to make it to the NFR, and Clint does it. You know what I mean? Like there's that little scrapping mentality where I'm not out until I'm going home.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you have to have that.
No doubt. And I don't know why it bothers me, but when people are like, well, I didn't have the money to rodeo, or he didn't have this or that, I'm like, man, you should have seen me and him when not that long ago. You know what I mean? He had a hay string on his headstall holding it up, and one horse, and neither one of us had a living quarters or a prayer of any of that. And we literally had 3,500, and we just go wherever we went, you know, and so I guess to say that we're not saying our parents didn't give us opportunities by any means. But
I mean, Patrick Smith worked at, he bought a horse, financed a horse, worked at Chili's to make the payments on the horse. You know what I mean? Like
and you go to his house, he looks like one of the most successful people that's ever done. You know?
Well,
excuses are cheap, and you can always find a way
absolutely.
out. If you want a way out, you'll always find
absolutely.
a way out.
And some of my good friends kind of say that, you know, in a way like, I just didn't have the means.
If I was as lucky as you, I probably could have made it too.
Well, and truthfully, it's what do you want to sacrifice?
Right.
You know, I mean, what
absolutely.
you're going to have to.
Some people don't like being gone. Some people,
right.
you know,
And there's
homesick.
nothing
Some
wrong
people,
with that.
There's
It's
nothing
just-
wrong with that. It is hard to say. And I've always been, you know, wanting to defend, but it's hard to say, oh, he could have made it. Oh, he could have if he'd have tried. Because, I mean, until
He had
you
the
sit
talent
on
to
it,
make
until
it,
you're flying around, driving around, missing them all, figuring it out, you know, until you go through those slumps, because, you know, you never know how you can handle that. So
You don't know how good they are when they're doing good. You know how good they are when they're doing bad.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's I think that's true in all sports. Is you don't know what somebody's made of when they've reached the top. It's when you're at the lowest of the low.
Right.
What are you made of, and are you going to dig yourself out of that
Yeah,
hole?
absolutely.
So,
And what, you know, not only just sacrifices, but like the commitment level to that of like, okay, we're not going home, and I don't want to just leave my family and all right, maybe I'll see you in 8 months or whatever. But like, okay, we're going to make this work, and this is how we're going to make it work. And options aren't excuses. Money's not an excuse. Whatever, you know, missing's not an excuse. It's just like, this is the game plan. If the end result is the NFR, it's like, okay, we'll stop when we get to the NFR, you know, or whatever that goal is. But it's really easy, and pretty much everything, man, is it gets hard. And if you quit, hey, that's fine. But maybe that wasn't your, you know, not that you couldn't have made it, but that just wasn't important enough to keep going, you know?
well, we were talking to Tyler about Tyler Wagasback about how hot it gets and when they exercise horses, and you know, and his wife moving to Louisiana. And I've heard multiple times that you mentioned Walt Woodard. You know, there'll be times where he practices at 2 or 3 in the morning. You know, because that's when it's cool. You know, so are you going to be willing enough to get up in the summertime and tune on a horse or do whatever it takes to get the job done? That's the separation, you know, between guys like that, guys like you, and those that make the excuse and never cross that line.
And desire and discipline are two separate things. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to go out and just keep rodeoing when you're, you know, it's like, oh, let's get in the truck and go, and we just won, you know, 30,000 or however many dollars.
Right.
But that discipline of like, yeah, we didn't win, but this is our game plan. We're going to stick to that game plan. And so, I mean, that discipline mindset that's obviously why you got gold buckles.
Well, and it's hard to do, and I haven't always kept that mindset. You know, it's like, you can ask Wesley, like, I'll miss a lot, and I'm working at it not bothering me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going out of my way to be cool when stuff's not going my way. And that's harder to do sometimes.
I mean, especially as I thought he did a great job, but like, our buddy team was just kicking their butt. I mean, they were winning everything you could win, catching everywhere, and we're not doing any good. But I mean, the last thing you want to do is hold those guys back or be sour around them or be, you know, and not, you know, let them enjoy it while they're doing good, and it'll be your turn eventually. But it is extremely hard to have that approach. And we even talked about it, but like that was kind of our goal, and which he did a great job at it. But like, hey, we're just going to let it hurt, and it'll be better. You know, one steer will make it better. We don't know when it is, but one steer is going to make it better. And it paid off. Like, that was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen rodeoing like that. Because like, I don't feel like day to day changed at all as far as mentality. Like, still got up same time, did the same stuff, told the same jokes, whatever it is, had the same conversations. It wasn't like Tyler's sulking in the corner of the hotel room with, waking up in a puddle of sweat.
Right.
Oh, there was a puddle. I just didn't tell anybody.
Puddle of tears. I don't want to do it.
So anyway, I think that's valuable, and it's like I said, I think experience and figuring out how to play the long game is the only way to figure that part out.
Well, you guys figured the game out and played it the best in 2023. So we look forward to seeing you guys back here inside the Thomas and Mack for the 2024 Wrangler National Finals Rodeo.
I hope you see you here, man. You never know.
Me too.
Good job, guys.
Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit nfrexperience.com, and we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've heard on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe.